so he knows what his next urban improvement projects are meant to be. The true pinnacle, by the way, of her satirical spirit lies in the new Kerala for Mahabali. She brilliantly imagines how mythical King Mahabali making his annual return to modernizing Kerala during Onam. The paradise he remembers as acquired traffic congestion, environmental anxiety, consumerism, and a host of thoroughly modern inconvenience. Watching the legendary king navigate our bumper-to-bumper traffic is both incredibly funny and quietly revealing. What should Mahabali now break on his annual visit, she discusses with the doctor? Antihistamines for allergy, digestive tablets for all the rich food, mosquito repellent against dengue, face mask to combat the air pollution, and ideally to suggest a helicopter to soar above the traffic. The satire is always worked best by allowing the past to hold up from mirror to the present. And through Mahabali, I will accomplish exactly that. One suspects that by the time Mahabali returns to the netherworld, he's probably looking forward to the peace and quiet down there after this. Now, beyond the geographic eccentricity, the vast bulk of this book mines pure comedy from the absolute battlefield that is everyday domestic life. She reminds us of the most dramatic theatre in our lives is rarely found in boardrooms or battlefields. It's found in kitchens, bathrooms, bedrooms, drawing rooms, where appliances revel, household objects develop stubborn personalities, and perfectly ordinary mornings descend into glorious chaos. Medical science concerns itself with healing fractures. Cairo is far more interested in exposing them, particularly those in her husband's domestic skill set. He writes an essay called A Healing Fracture, which recounts Cairo breaking a wrist in a clumsy bathroom fall. The true tragedy, however, isn't the medical injury. It is the absolute comedy of errors that follows when her husband is left in charge, displaying a spectacular level of domestic incompetence when tasked with something as basic as helping her secure a hair clip. The injury heals, the husband's reputation, I'm afraid, never does. It's really now, if you look closely at Cairo's literary projection, I have to correct the young lady, because in fact, I haven't launched every one of Cairo's books. I've launched every book since 2010, which means all the 9 Butterfingers books and 4 of her other books, but she's actually written 19, and I've only launched 13. I can only surmise that the other 6 were never launched. Launched from a submarine, but not on a stage like this. But I can tell you that now that I've read all these volumes of hers, especially the beloved Adventures of Butterfingers, this fictional schoolboy who couldn't hold a cricket bat across the room without triggering a multi-car pileup and causing major property damage in all directions. But I suspect, and I always suspected that Butterfinger was modeled on a young son who's now grown up and living in North America. Amar Kishan, the clumsy hero of a novel. But after reading Happy Go Funny, I suspect that the boy should not be blamed for any of this. He was a carefully constructed con. Butterfingers was not an act of fiction, it was an act of autobiography in disguise. Cairo is the real Butterfingers. The only difference is that when Butterfingers drops a crucial catch on the field, it's a sporting catastrophe. But when Cairo drops a jar of pickles in the kitchen, it becomes a national bestseller. Now, she possesses the enviable borderline heroic talent of looking at a morning that has gone completely to pieces, the kind of morning that makes the rest of us want to crawl back into bed, and somehow finding the opening paragraph of our next novel. Most of us pray for a better day. Cairo simply hopes that nobody tidies up before she's taken notes. And there is, I think, a deeper reason why her humor endures. She reminds us that comedy is not the opposite of seriousness. It's actually another way of paying attention to life. Anyone can complain about a delayed train, a stubborn umbrella, a broken appliance, but very few can return home and discover, hidden within those everyday irritations, something that illuminates the human condition. That is what Cairo does. And that is what Cairo has been doing quietly and consistently for years now. And the true enduring magic of her writing, I believe, and this is precisely why Happy Go Funny is such a magnificent addition to her is that she holds out a delightfully tasteful remarkably sharp mirror to our ordinary life, transforming our daily irritation into badges of honor. We live in an era dominated by relentless, stressful news cycle, endless traffic honking, hyper-inflated rhetoric, digital systems that are always down when you need them to be up, and now our is also going, I know, twice a day exactly when you don't want it to go. In a world that often takes itself far too seriously, this book arrives as a necessary intervention. It reminds us that the best antidote to the universe's chaos is not despair, but just a good laugh. What I find most wonderful about Kaila's perspective is its boundless, radiant generosity. In the hands of a lesser writer, everyday frustration, malfunctioning appliance, stubborn relative, an unyielding municipal train schedule could easily devolve into just cynical complaints or weary sighs. But Kaila possesses a literary alchemy that turns leaden annoyances into pure comedic gold. She infuses the mundane with warmth, treating every bizarre character she encounters, from bewildered lawyers to hyper-intellectual insects, with a deeply affectionate grace. Having a Fun is not merely a collection of humorous tolerance, it's a profound philosophy of resilience. It's a guide on how to live cheerfully in a world that is constantly dropping its own metaphoric plate of hot food right onto your clean carpets. To read this book is to feel deeply understood, comforted, and thoroughly vindicated in your own daily struggles. True humor is not about escaping reality. It's about confronting reality with a smile, discovering the camaraderie in our shared human flaws, and realizing that none of us is truly alone in our clumsiness. By giving us explicit permission to laugh at our own misadventures, Kyrie generously invites us to be much gentler with ourselves when our own carefully organized schedules go spectacularly off script. So I absolutely enthusiastically commend this marvelous book to you. Anyone who's ever lost a single cycle at a somber funeral, argued passionately with a belligerent auto rickshaw driver over a 50 paise fare adjustment, or survived a high-stakes haircut that was utterly ruined by a hovering drone, if you know someone who takes life too seriously, buy them this book. And if you are someone who takes life too seriously, buy 2 copies, read them twice. Now, as we prepare to raise a toast to this spectacular work, let us make a solemn pact to adopt a fraction of the author's legendary resilience. The next time life hands you a waterlogged street, missing lonely or a broken wrist, do not despair. Simply look the universe dead in the eye, channel your inner courage, and prepare your opening paragraph. Happy Go Funny is narrated by a woman navigating the daily frustrations of domestic life, but she is no disem-powered drudge. She is financially and intellectually independent, confident, and has a great sense of humor. And as I said, in very many ways, when the toast burns, the Wi-Fi collapses, the pressure cooker whistles like an air raid siren, and somebody asks, whose turn is it to deal with this? Resist the temptation to solve the problem immediately. First ask yourself the truly important question, is this merely a domestic disaster, or could it be chapter 7? To kind of thank you for conversing your mundane setbacks into absolute recipes to joy, for reminding us that life's lighter moments are invariably the ones that matter most. May your books always fly off the shelves with the speed of a startled monkey. Your premium Dubai pistachios remain forever unrated by elite health-conscious hands. Your local goods always babble in perfect harmony, and may your heroic rescue umbrellas never accidentally take off like Batman. May the laughter you have gifted us tonight return to you thousandfold. Thank you very much. Enjoy this.